Picture this. You save up all year. You book the trip. You walk through those iconic Roman columns at Caesar's Palace, the same columns that made you feel like a king the first time you ever set foot in Las Vegas. And then the bill hits. Resort fees, parking fees, a $45 breakfast that arrives cold, a blackjack table that starts at $100 on a Tuesday morning. And somewhere between the check-in desk and the casino floor, you realize something has gone terribly, quietly, devastatingly wrong. The palace is still standing, but the kingdom is rotting from the inside. Hi, my name is Michael, and this is Old Vegas Legends, the crown jewel that lost its shine. Let's go back, way back. Because to understand what's being destroyed, you first have to understand what was built. Caesar's Palace opened on August 5th, 1966. Jay Sarno, a hotel developer from Atlanta with an absolutely enormous imagination and an equally enormous ego, spent $24 million constructing a Roman fantasy in the middle of the Mojave Desert. Fountains, statuary, cocktail waitresses dressed like goddesses, the whole bit. And it worked. It worked spectacularly. From the very beginning, Caesar's Palace was different. It wasn't just a casino, it was a statement. A declaration that Las Vegas wasn't some dusty gambling town for degenerates and divorcees. It was glamour. It was spectacle. It was the place where Sinatra performed, where Muhammad Ali fought, where Evel Knievel attempted to jump the fountains out front in 1967. He didn't make it, by the way. He landed in the parking lot and broke about 40 bones. Only in Vegas does a spectacular failure become part of the legend. For decades, Caesar's Palace was the crown jewel of the Las Vegas Strip. Not the biggest, not always the most profitable, but the most iconic, the most aspirational. When a regular working person from Cleveland or Cincinnati or Calgary dreamed about Vegas, they dreamed about Caesar's, the columns, the fountains, the forum shops, the feeling that for one long weekend, they were somebody special. That feeling was the product, not the slot machines, not the table games, the feeling. And for a long time, Caesars understood that. They understood that if you made a 40-year-old school teacher from Ohio feel like Cleopatra for 3 days, she would come back every year. She'd bring her husband, then her sister, then her co-workers. She'd tell the story at every dinner party for the next decade. That's what Caesars was selling. That's what made it legendary. Then the suits arrived, and the suits had a different product in mind entirely. The transformation didn't happen overnight. It never does. It happened the way Ernest Hemingway described going broke, gradually and then all at once. The free drinks got watered down, the comps got harder to earn, the table minimums crept up, the resort fees appeared, first small, then breathtaking. The magic didn't vanish in a single moment. It leaked out, slowly, like air from a tire. And by the time most loyal players noticed, it was already too late. The debt bomb nobody's talking about. Here's the thing about Caesars that the glossy advertisements and the celebrity poker tournaments don't mention. This company has been financially sick for a very long time, and the sickness has a name: debt. Catastrophic, suffocating, almost incomprehensible levels of debt. To understand how we got here, you need to understand what happened in 2005. That was the year private equity firms Apollo Global Management and TPG Capital looked at Caesars Entertainment, then called Harrah's Entertainment, and decided to buy it. The price tag was $30.7 billion. And here's the twist that should make your stomach turn. They didn't really use their own money to buy it. They used borrowed money. They loaded the debt onto the company itself. It's a classic leveraged buyout. Wall Street loves it. Employees and customers tend to feel differently. By the time the deal closed in 2008, guess what was happening? The Great Recession. Las Vegas tourism collapsed. Casino revenues fell off a cliff. And Caesars was sitting underneath a mountain of debt it had absolutely no hope of servicing. The company was hemorrhaging hundreds of millions of dollars per year in interest payments alone. Not gambling losses, not operational failures, just interest. Just the cost of the loan that private equity used to buy the company in the first place. The inevitable happened in January 2015. Caesars Entertainment Operating Company, the main subsidiary that ran most of the casinos, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It was one of the largest casino bankruptcies in American history. The company listed approximately $18 billion in debt. Let that number sit for a second. $18 billion. That's not a typo. Now, you'd think that after emerging from bankruptcy in 2017, Caesars would have learned its lesson. You'd think they'd have come out lean, disciplined, and focused on rebuilding the guest experience that made them great. And then in 2020, Eldorado Resorts acquired Caesars Entertainment in a $17.3 billion merger. And here we go again. Another leveraged deal, more debt loaded onto an already fragile company. The combined entity emerged from that merger carrying approximately $14.6 billion in long-term debt. $14.6 billion. For context, that is more than the annual GDP of some small countries. So every time you pay a $40 resort fee at Caesars, understand something. You're not paying for towels by the pool or fast Wi-Fi. You are servicing Wall Street's debt. You are the product. You always were. They just used to be nicer about hiding it. And here's the kicker that casino executives really don't want you to dwell on. Interest rates rose sharply between 2022 and 2024, which means that debt got dramatically more expensive to carry. Caesars reported a net loss of $873 million in fiscal year 2023. A company with that kind of debt load, in a rising rate environment, with visitor numbers now falling, that's not a business navigating turbulence. That's a business running out of runway, the fee factory. Let me ask you something. When did you stop feeling like a guest at Caesars and start feeling like a revenue opportunity? I can tell you almost exactly when it started for most people. Resort fees. These things deserve their own chapter, their own congressional hearing, and honestly, their own true crime podcast. Because what happened with resort fees at Caesars properties is one of the great slow-motion consumer betrayals of the modern era. Resort fees at major Caesars properties on the Las Vegas Strip now run between $45 and $52 per night. On top of your room rate, on top of 13.38% room tax. The fees supposedly cover amenities like pool access, fitness center use, and Wi-Fi. Things that, in any sane version of reality, should simply be included in the room rate you already paid. And it's not just resort fees. Caesars eliminated free self-parking at many Strip properties. You heard that right. Free parking in Las Vegas. Gone. MGM did it first, and Caesars followed like a kid copying homework. Valet is now $35 to $45 per day at several properties. Self-park runs $15 to $20. So, before you've lost a single dollar gambling, before you've had one overpriced cocktail, you're already down $60 to $90 just for showing up and putting your car somewhere. In September 2024, multiple consumer watchdog sites documented Caesars quietly adding what they internally called a convenience fee for phone reservations. Sound familiar? It should. They're all doing it. Every single touch point with the customer is now a potential revenue extraction moment. Calling to book costs extra. Checking in early costs extra. Checking out late costs extra. Bringing a second guest to the pool? That'll be extra. One Reddit user in the Las Vegas community posted a full breakdown of their recent Caesars Palace stay. Room rate, $220 per night. Resort fee, $52. Parking, $20 per day. Mandatory gratuity on the minibar service they never requested, $14. By the time they checked out, the actual cost per night was 40% higher than the advertised rate. 40%. The post got over 3,000 upvotes. The replies told the same story over and over again from different people in different cities who'd had the exact same experience. Here's what the executives in those glass towers genuinely do not seem to understand. Or maybe they do understand it and just don't care. When you make people feel cheated before they ever sit down at a table, they don't gamble. They don't spend. They minimize every dollar because they feel like the casino is already picking their pocket. The psychological contract is broken before the weekend even starts. And broken contracts have consequences. Killing the golden goose. The loyalty program, betrayal. If the resort fee situation makes you angry, wait until we talk about what Caesars did to their loyalty program, because this one is personal for a lot of longtime players. And it should be. For years, Total Rewards was considered the gold standard of casino loyalty programs. Genuinely, industry analysts praised it. Competitors tried to copy it. Regular players structured entire vacation schedules around earning and maintaining their tier status. Diamond members got access to the Diamond Lounge at Caesars properties. Free drinks, free snacks. A quiet place to sit away from the casino floor chaos. It wasn't lavish, but it made you feel valued. It made you feel like the company actually remembered you existed. Then Caesars rebranded Total Rewards as Caesars Rewards in 2019. Fine, names change. But what came with the rebrand was a systematic gutting of the benefits that made the program worth caring about. The Diamond Lounges. Let's talk about the Diamond Lounges. During the global health crisis, Caesars closed them, understandable given the circumstances. But here's what happened when things returned to normal. Most of them didn't reopen. The Paris-Las Vegas Diamond Lounge became Vanderpump à Paris, a Lisa Vanderpump concept. Which, look, I'm sure Lisa Vanderpump is a lovely person, but a paying bar replacing a complimentary player lounge is not an upgrade. It is a betrayal dressed up in rose gold and reality television branding. The Harrah's Las Vegas Lounge repurposed. The Bally's Lounge gone, property after property. The spaces that mid-tier loyal players had earned access to through years of consistent gambling were quietly converted into revenue-generating concepts. The company took a benefit you earned and replaced it with another way to charge you money. That is the sentence. Read it again. And here's the thing about Diamond status at Caesars. It requires 15,000 tier credits per calendar year. That's roughly $15,000 in losses at the slot machines, depending on the denomination you play and the properties you frequent. People were losing real money, significant money, to maintain a status that came with benefits that no longer exist. The player community noticed immediately. Veteran gamblers who had been loyal to Caesars properties for 20 and 30 years started publicly shopping their action around. A forum post on Vegas message board that circulated widely in late 2023 read, "I achieved Diamond status at Caesars for 11 consecutive years. 11 years of giving them my gambling budget. This year, I'm taking it to MGM. At least they still have a lounge." That post had dozens of replies from players saying the same thing. Same story, different name, different city, same sense of having been used and discarded. When you destroy loyalty programs, you don't just lose one customer. You lose their network. You lose their referrals. You lose the stories they tell at the office and at family dinners. You lose the next generation of players they would have brought through the door. That's not a rounding error. That's structural damage to the customer base. The property is crumbling literally. Now, let's talk about something that doesn't show up in any earnings call: the actual physical condition of Caesars properties on the Las Vegas Strip. Because here's what happens when a company carries $14 billion in debt and needs to show Wall Street quarterly improvements. Maintenance gets deferred, renovations get delayed, capital expenditures get slashed. The things that guests actually see and touch and sleep in start showing their age. And in Las Vegas, where every competitor is constantly renovating and upgrading, standing still means falling behind. TripAdvisor reviews of Caesars Palace from 2024 and 2025 paint a picture that the marketing department would absolutely hate. Worn carpets in casino areas that haven't been replaced in years. Elevators that require multiple button presses. Rooms at the price point of a luxury hotel that reviewers routinely describe as dated, tired, and in need of a refresh. One guest who paid $340 per night for a standard room at Caesars Palace described finding a shower with grout that looked like it hadn't been touched since the 90s. Now look, I can't verify that specific claim, but when you read 40 variations of the same complaint across multiple review platforms, you start seeing a pattern. Bally's Las Vegas, another Caesars property, has been in a state of ongoing identity crisis for years. The company announced plans to rebrand it as the Horseshoe Las Vegas. Fine, but the renovation timeline has been stop and start. Guests checking in during transition periods reported construction noise, limited amenities, and a general sense of chaos that felt wildly inconsistent with the rates being charged. Planet Hollywood, owned by Caesars, draws consistent complaints about aging infrastructure, inconsistent housekeeping, and a casino floor that longtime visitors say has never fully recovered from the pandemic-era cutbacks in service and staffing. Here's the uncomfortable business reality. In Las Vegas, perception is everything. When guests pay Caesars prices and get a Motel 6 experience in terms of room quality, they don't just complain to the front desk. They post on TripAdvisor. They post on Reddit. They tweet. They post on TikTok. They tell every person they know. One disappointed guest with 2,000 social media followers is free negative advertising, reaching 2,000 potential future visitors. Multiply that by thousands of disappointed guests per year. The Venetian spent over $1.5 billion on renovations after the Sands sold it. Wynn Properties consistently invest in physical upkeep because Steve Wynn's entire philosophy was that the building itself had to gleam. MGM Resorts allocated significant capital toward property refreshes at Bellagio and MGM Grand. Caesars, under its crushing debt burden, simply cannot keep pace. The gap between what they charge and what they deliver is widening, and guests are noticing. The competition is eating their lunch. While Caesars has been busy raising fees, gutting loyalty, benefits, and deferring maintenance, their competition has not been standing still, not even close. The Venetian Resort Las Vegas was sold by the Sands Corporation in 2021 for $6.25 billion. The new ownership, Apollo Global Management, ironically enough, the same private equity firm that helped bury Caesars under debt the first time around, committed to a massive reinvestment program. The property received sweeping renovations. Service standards were elevated. The casino floor, already among the most generous on the Strip in terms of odds and table limits, became an even more attractive alternative for mid to high-level players looking for a better experience than Caesars was providing. Wynn Las Vegas and Encore continue to operate at a level of service consistency that Caesars can only aspire to. The physical condition of Wynn properties is almost absurdly good. I walked through Wynn in early 2025, and I will tell you honestly, the carpet looked like it had been installed that morning, which it had not been. But that's the point. When you invest in maintenance, properties don't look their age. The Cosmopolitan, now owned by MGM, carved out a specific niche: younger, hipper, more design-conscious travelers who want Las Vegas energy without feeling like they've stepped into a theme park designed in 1985. The Cosmo's loyalty integration with MGM Rewards gives it access to a massive player database. Meanwhile, Caesars is watching that demographic walk right past its properties. And then there's the locals market. Station casinos and Boyd gaming properties targeting Las Vegas residents have seen revenue increases of up to 50% as Strip properties priced out the middle market. Here's the painful irony. The customers Caesars drove away didn't leave Las Vegas. Many of them just stopped going to the Strip. They drove to Red Rock Casino or the Palms or Green Valley Ranch. Properties that still understand the basic compact, treat people well, give them value, they'll come back. One veteran casino host who spent years working at a major Caesars property and asked not to be named put it this way: "We used to fight for every player. Every trip to the phone to offer a room rate, a show ticket, a dinner comp. Now, the instruction from above is let them walk if they're not spending enough. The problem is, too many of them are walking and not coming back. The numbers don't lie." All right, let's get into the data, because opinions are one thing, but numbers are ruthless, and the numbers around Caesars Entertainment right now are genuinely alarming. Caesars Entertainment stock traded at around $57 per share in early 2022. By the middle of 2025, it had declined to the low 30s. That is a loss of nearly 45% of shareholder value in approximately 3 years. For a company that operates in what is supposedly a booming leisure economy with post-pandemic revenge travel fueling record tourism spending across the globe, a 45% stock decline is not a blip. It is a verdict. The Nevada Gaming Control Board reported that gaming revenue on the Las Vegas Strip fell 3.9% in May 2025 compared to the same month in 2024. June 2025 was worse. Downtown Las Vegas saw an 11.3% revenue drop, and Strip occupancy fell to 85.3% in May 2025, down from 88.5% the prior year. Caesars specifically reported net revenues of $2.77 billion for the second quarter of 2025, which on the surface sounds impressive until you look at the net income line, or more accurately, the net loss line. The company posted a net loss of $270 million in that same quarter. Revenue up, net income negative, that's not a healthy business. That's a business running on fumes and financial engineering. Total visitor numbers to Las Vegas fell 7.3% in the first half of 2025, compared to 2024. Over 1.1 million fewer visitors walked the Strip. Harry Reid International Airport reported passenger counts down 6.3% in June 2025 alone. And Caesars, with the most properties on the Strip of any single operator, feels every one of those missing visitors acutely. The Applied Analysis report presented to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority in April 2025 contained a finding that should be pinned to every executive's office door at Caesars headquarters. Average visitor spending in 2024 was 53% higher than in 2019, but spending on gaming actually decreased. People are spending more and gambling less, which means they're paying fees and buying overpriced food and drinks, and then leaving, without the gambling loyalty that brings them back. Jeremy Aguero from Applied Analysis framed it carefully and diplomatically during that presentation, but translated from consultant speak into plain English, the message was this: Vegas is extracting more money per visitor while delivering less of the experience that creates repeat customers. That is not a growth strategy, that is a liquidation strategy. The workers paying the price. Every time we talk about corporate strategy and stock prices and debt ratios, there are actual human beings on the other side of these decisions. And at Caesars, those human beings are having a very hard time. The Culinary Workers Union, Local 226, represents tens of thousands of casino and hotel workers across Las Vegas. In 2023, union members at multiple Caesars properties voted to authorize a strike after years of what workers described as wage stagnation, benefit cuts, and staffing reductions that left remaining employees doing the work of multiple positions. The strike authorization vote at Caesars properties passed with over 95% support. Think about that number. When 95% of your workers vote to authorize a strike, something has gone badly wrong in the relationship between management and labor. Eventually, contracts were negotiated and strikes at most properties were avoided, but the underlying tensions did not disappear. Holly, a cocktail server at one of the Caesars Strip properties who asked that her last name not be used, described the current environment this way: "A couple of years ago, I was making good money. Good tips, regulars who came back every trip and asked for me by name. Now I barely recognize the faces on the floor. New guests who don't gamble much, they're watching every dollar. My tips are down, way down, and they keep cutting positions, so the ones of us who are left are running harder for less." A former Caesars table games dealer posted on a casino workers forum in early 2025. "They eliminated 2 full pit crews at my property last year. Automated table shufflers replaced experienced dealers on slow shifts. The customer experience suffers, the atmosphere suffers, but it saves the company a few $100,000 per year, and that's all that matters to the people making the decisions." This is what happens at the ground level when a company optimizes for cost reduction rather than guest experience. The people who actually deliver hospitality are stretched thin, demoralized, and increasingly unable to provide the service that would justify the prices being charged. It becomes a self-fulfilling cycle of decline. Can Caesars be saved? Here's the part where I'm supposed to tell you that there's a clear path forward. That new leadership has a bold vision, that the turnaround plan is already in motion, and Vegas's most iconic brand is about to roar back to life. I would love to tell you that. I genuinely would. But I'm not going to lie to you. That's not what we do here. Caesars CEO Tom Reeg has spoken publicly about the challenges. In earnings calls throughout 2024 and 2025, he acknowledged that Las Vegas started leaking as a market in June of 2025, and that the company expected the third quarter to remain soft. He's talked about cost, discipline, and capital allocation, and all the other phrases that executives use when they mean we're cutting things and hoping for the best. There are some genuine efforts underway. Caesars has invested in sports betting technology through its Caesars Sportsbook platform, recognizing that digital gambling is the growth market of the next decade. The company secured naming rights to the Superdome in New Orleans, which became Caesars Superdome. Brand visibility matters. Sports partnerships matter. These are not nothing. Some tourism consultants have called for a moratorium on resort fees as a way to reignite interest in Strip properties. Resorts World Las Vegas actually eliminated resort fees, becoming one of the only major Strip properties to do so. It was noticed. It was praised. Caesars hasn't followed. The fundamental problem is structural. You cannot deliver a world-class luxury hospitality experience while carrying $14 billion in debt, cutting staff, deferring maintenance, and raising fees simultaneously. These things are in direct conflict with each other. Something has to give. And historically, in this situation, what gives is the guest experience, which accelerates the decline, which pressures the debt. which requires more cuts. You see where this goes. University of Nevada, Las Vegas economics professor Stephen Miller predicted a slow contraction through 2026, warning that gross gaming revenue over time will likely return to pre-pandemic trends as savings and discretionary income normalize. For a company with Caesars' debt load, a slow contraction isn't uncomfortable. It's potentially catastrophic. The honest answer to the question of whether Caesars can be saved is this: it depends entirely on whether the people making the decisions are willing to prioritize the long-term health of the business over short-term cost reduction. And based on the evidence of the last 5 years, that willingness is not yet apparent. Here's what I keep coming back to. Here's what keeps me up at night, if I'm being honest with you. Caesars Palace is an American icon, not just a Las Vegas icon, an American one. The fountains, the columns, the name itself. When a foreign visitor imagines Las Vegas, they often imagine Caesars. When a filmmaker wants to say Las Vegas in a single shot, they point a camera at those Roman columns. That place means something. It means something to this city, and it means something to the people who have been coming here for decades. The regular folks who saved up and brought their spouses, and celebrated their anniversaries, and lost a few $100s at the blackjack table, and told the story every Thanksgiving for 20 years. Those people built Caesars Palace just as surely as Jay Sarno did in 1966. They built it with their loyalty and their dollars and their love for a place that made them feel like something more than ordinary for a few days every year. And what they're getting in return right now is resort fees and deferred maintenance and gutted loyalty programs and automated tables, and a company that has openly admitted it's trying to move upmarket and away from the middle-class customer that kept the lights on for 60 years. I don't know exactly how this ends. Nobody does. Maybe Caesars finds a way to restructure the debt and reinvest in the product. Maybe a buyer comes along with a vision and the capital to execute it. Maybe the Strip bounces back and rising tides lift all ships, even the ones taking on water. Or maybe we watch one of the most famous brands in American entertainment history slowly hollow out until the name is the only thing left. Just a label on an aging building full of broken promises and 6 to 5 blackjack tables. What I do know is this: the warning signs are all there. The debt is real. The visitor declines are real. The loyalty program betrayal is real. The worker stories are real. The guest complaints are real. None of this is hidden. None of this requires a secret source or a leaked document. It's all sitting right there in the earnings calls, and the gaming control board reports, and the Reddit threads, and the TripAdvisor reviews, and the social media posts that go viral because so many people have had the exact same experience. The palace is still standing, but the kingdom needs to decide what it actually stands for. Because right now, based on everything we've covered today, it stands for debt service and resort fees, and the belief that the name alone is enough to keep people walking through those Roman columns forever. It isn't. Nothing is. So, I want to hear from you. Have you been to Caesars recently? Did you notice the changes? Are you still going, or did they finally lose you? And if they lost you, what was the moment? What was the thing that made you say, "Enough, I'm done"? Drop it in the comments. Your experience matters more than any corporate earnings report ever will. If this video connected with something you've been feeling about Vegas, hit that like button. Subscribe to Old Vegas Legends. We're going to keep telling these stories because somebody has to. We're going to keep showing up for the city that too many executives have stopped showing up for. Because this city wasn't built by hedge funds and private equity firms. It was built by people like you, and it's time somebody remembered that. See you next time.